America Meditating Radio Show, we collect wisdom, inspire each other, and empower hearts 24/7. Hi, I'm Sister Jenna. Join me and guest on Blog Talk Radio as we amplify stories that compel us to be more for ourselves and everyone else around us.
In 1987, some first graders were promised a college education. This came from Oral Lee Brown, who saved a large portion of her modest income, sending 19 kids to college, helping others. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
I was 11 years old at my first national championship. I fell I don't know how many times.
Michelle Kwan is the most decorated figure skater in U.S. history.
But I had a dream. My dream came true because I dedicated myself.
Dedication made Michelle Kwan a champion.
I was passionate about something, and I made sure that I worked hard for it.
And dedication can make your dreams a reality.
Whatever your dream and goals are, they can come true.
Dedication. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
Take a break. Breathe. Why don't you visit the Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center, 518-589-5000.
Get off the grid and step inside your heart. Sister Jenna guides you through a powerful, encouraging, and motivating meditation that allows you to let go and become aware of you, regain strength, power, and peace.
Hi, this is Reverend Sylvia Sumter with Unity of Washington, D.C., and I'm here just to tell you how much I love listening to America Meditating with Sister Jenna. It's a fabulous show, fabulous guests, wonderful readings with Sister Gita. It's enough to feed your soul. It's a delight to the spirit. Hope you'll tune in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to America Meditating Radio. That was Lifted by Bliss. Love that song. Every time I hear that song, it just takes me into this expanded awareness and remembrance that I have what it takes to do as much as I can do in this life, where it is a life of charity, generosity, benevolence, kindness, love, ups and downs, ins and outs, doubt, faith, victory, defeat. And I don't know, there's something about this experience of your expansion of feeling, your ability to overcome obstacles and barriers, to be able to really listen to what your thoughts in your head are signaling to you as to who you are, where you've come from, and the possibility of where you're going to end up. One of the beautiful things about meditation is that it teaches you how to listen, not listen with judgment, but to be able to listen with the wisdom of some sort of a universal truth. The sun is hot, but you and I have never been there. And a lot of people might say that you're souled, but have you ever seen the soul? No, it's experienced. There is an energy that is living inside. I can take out my heart and have it replaced by another. I can take out a kidney, have it replaced by another. I can even exist with half of a brain. But once that life force has left the body, nothing's going to work. So there is an energy that is functioning inside of our being. There is a spirit, a soul, an energy of light. And I think that many times the recordings and the experiences that we're going through is etched right there. And so why we need meditation, why we need knowledge and wisdom and an exchange and going back and forth with each other is that it helps the soul to just absolve its issues and to find clarity so that it can live a successful life. You're listening to America Meditating Radio. We're at the beautiful Meditation Museum in the nation's capital broadcasting. We're a nonprofit now, so we're looking forward to having you support us in many ways. Last year in 2016, we literally loved supporting the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, Standing Rock, some women who have survived cancer, Unify, and much, much more. And this year we're hoping to even far surpass the work that we're doing. So it's not just a syndicated radio show. It is not that we're just having some of the best voices on air giving us tools in how to be better people, but we want to do as much as we can that's out of the box, that we can feel like our passion and our truth is really existing. Stay tuned. We're going to have a heart-to-heart conversation with Leslie Shore. She's a communications expert, and we will be hearing what Leslie has to say. Thank you so much for joining us on the air. Today, we're proud to welcome Leslie Shore. Leslie Shore is a communications expert, and as the owner of the consultancy Listen to Succeed, Leslie has worked with corporations, nonprofits, entrepreneurs, health professionals, and educational institutions to up-level their intra-personal and interpersonal communication skills, huge in today's time. Her book, Listen to Succeed, How to Identify and Overcome Barriers to Effective Listening, is currently used in 4 universities and in businesses and nonprofits throughout the United States and Canada. Leslie's articles and expertise have been cited in several prestigious publications, including our local Washington Post, Fast Company, Scientific America, and much more. But here, let's get Leslie on the air so we can get some tips on how to communicate better. Leslie, a very warm welcome to you. Glad that you could join us.
Thank you so much, Sister Jenna. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. One of the biggest things of today's time is to be able to communicate effectively. But would you agree that a good communicator cannot become good if they're not a good listener?
Oh, I totally agree. I think that listening is really the absolute foundation of great communication. If you can't listen, what is it that you're going to respond to?
Amen to that. If you can't listen, what are you going to be able to respond to? Big time truth. Please keep talking.
Yes.
I love you already. Were you a good listener when you were a child?
Actually, I would say yes, and the reason was because I grew up in a family with my parents and my grandmother that were such expert listeners, so present at our level, that as we were growing up as children, sitting around the dinner table, no television, no cell phones obviously at that point, we literally were being listened to by our parents to debrief our day, to ask questions, and we listened to their day, and they always would let us know if a question we asked didn't make sense, because that kind of honed our ability to listen effectively. And this went on from, I would say, from the age of about 6 onwards.
Now that's interesting. Would you say that sometimes that's sort of like, what should I say, cultural, or is that basically based on environment, or you know what I'm trying to say? Because there are certain areas of our understanding that certain areas of people, I'm trying to be so diplomatic, but certain cultures of people listen better than others. I don't want to say that's true, but isn't there an emphasis on proper dialoguing, proper listening, proper behavior, proper communication in particular areas more than others?
Well, what I would say, I think you're hitting on something where in reality I think that the cultures that are more I don't want to say
intuitive,
not nuclear family. Well, no, it's a nuclear family versus an extended family. And by virtue of that, when we look at Latin American culture where the extended family is the norm, that you have uncles, aunts, and grandparents sitting around the table, all in the same basic town, then the conversation is lively. It's across generations, and there's a lot of wisdom that goes back and forth. So I think there's an inducement to listen. So I think those that are in cultures that are more kind of based on a large extended family are more likely to be more effective listeners.
Okay, I've got a sweet challenge for you. With our increased reliance on social media, texting is... Could you believe I had reached a point that it would relax me to text instead of talk to somebody on the phone? And it could be because I speak a lot during the day. But, you know, let's say the increased reliance of social media, text messaging, Snapchat, Instagram, video calls, and all of that. We are said to be in the midst of the biggest shift in communication since telephone was invented. So with our reliance on gadgets and things moving so fast, are we really listening to each other? And what's the difference between hearing and listening?
So 2 things. The difference between hearing and listening is that hearing is all physiology. It's just what your ears can take in. Listening, however, is taking what you're hearing and what you're seeing in terms of body language and facial expression and actually processing it through your emotional and hopefully your critical thinking brain. That's where listening happens. Now, effective listening happens when you can push your ego aside so that you can listen to what's coming into you as purely as possible without the film of ego all over it.
How do you do that? Because that's not easy, because so many of us are so attached to our identity, our roles, the stuff that we've been through, and that we listen through that filter. How would you help our listeners to sort of reduce that ability?
2 things. I would say first and foremost, in pushing yourself aside and putting yourself in the shoes of the person who is speaking and assuming that they have something valuable for you to get the most out of. This is a mindset. And a mindset, as you well know, Sister Jenna, is very difficult to change. It takes time. The second thing is that your mind chatter will tell you that you have a barrier to listening effectively to the person who is speaking with you. And as soon as you hit that mind chatter, say to yourself, oh, I'm not listening effectively, or oops, that's getting in the way. Let me get back to listening without my ego or my history in the way. And although it sounds a little kooky, the reality is the more you say it to yourself,
start to believe it,
and better you will be at doing
it. That's a very good method, because I remembered being, when in my 20s, I would listen from always a very sort of a forward-thinking way. And sometimes the person didn't mean that. They just meant, just move the glass on the other table, please. But I needed to take the glass and make it look pretty, and there needed to be like special ice cubes in it, and then it needed to kind of have a special mat. And does it really need to be on that table? Look at how gorgeous it looks over here. And then by the time I'm done, the person's like, where's my glass of water? I go, oh, it's over there. Look at how beautiful it looks there, and look at the decorations I gave to it. And I don't mean to discredit the person, but, sometimes you have these special gifts that even when you're listening to someone's ideas, your heart says, I think I can make this better for them. Is that a bad way of listening?
It's not a bad way of listening. What it is it's not as effective as you want it to be, because as you're beginning to have those thoughts, you are no longer listening deeply to the other person. And this is why, and people who know me see this all the time, I have one of those small wire-bound notebooks, whether it's at the office, whether it's in my purse, whether it's in the car, and I carry it everywhere I go. Because what happens is when I'm listening to someone and I have that situation, I write down a couple of words of what they said that I do want to respond to, but then I immediately get back to listening. And when they are done, I go back to those words that they used and I say, you said XXXX, and here's what it made me think about. They feel honored that you listened to them because you're using their words. They also feel honored that you didn't interrupt and that you're actually replying to what they said with a new perspective. So you're actually honoring the person probably 3 different ways, and that improves their self-esteem. So you've just done a 2-for-1 good deal.
I love that. I know somebody who many of us have to converse with them, and they struggle with listening. Why is it that some of us struggle more with the ability to just hear somebody else's? Is it that something they're running away from? Is it that they don't value themselves? Is it that they're afraid of listening to themselves because if they do listen to themselves honestly, they'll have to change something?
Well, yes. The very last thing that you said, absolutely. I think one of the things in terms of people listening to another person, finding it difficult, is because in their upbringing, as they were growing up in their family dynamic, they were not listened to. And so that's the assumption of what the norm is. If I wasn't listened to as a child, why do I have to listen to anyone as an adult? And that's a hard habit to break because it's invisible to them. They have no idea that they are modeling behavior of their family, of their parents.
Right. That's interesting. It's such an art, because I've always known a great leader has the capacity to listen, but also he's also great in communicating as well. How does effective listening actually translate to a strong marriage or good parenting, child relationship, even success in business?
It is, I think, the most important thing to create and enhance any relationship anywhere. And the reason I say that is because the person who is being listened to feels valued. And whether it is a marriage or a child or a colleague or a friend, when they are being listened to, that just makes them feel so good. And it will allow them to open up more in terms of having a sincere and honest and truthful relationship. And it's worth actually taking the energy to get this skill at the highest level, because that is what it is. It's not something that is inherent within us when we're born, but effective listening truly is a skill. And I always talk about the business aspect. When people in your company come to you because you're such a good listener and they tell you what's going on, you're the person who understands the trends. You're then able to go to your supervisor or go to a management meeting and say, you know, I've been hearing that. And when it gets to the point that there is a job opening that would be a promotion for you, and all things being equal between you and another, you will get that promotion because you're constantly able to tell them what is going on in the company that no one else is able to tell them. So it really works.
I like that. What do you think about the current presidency? Do you think our new president is a good listener? Got you on that one, huh? No, really. I guess on the level of experience. Yeah.
Yes. I would say, in terms of what I have seen and heard, I would say no. I don't think that he is a person that listens without ego. And that will be an issue going forward, because he needs the wisdom of the people around him to get through that ego, that film of ego, so he can think critically about what it is that they're saying. And I think his tweets kind of tell us that this definitely is an issue.
Oh, okay then. So then it's really the ego that gets in the way of the quality of our listening. Once again. Wow.
Yes.
Gosh, this
and
ego.
It's a tough
what is
one.
ego? It is. What is ego to you? Like, what's your definition of ego? Because it comes up again and again in our lives. It's just such a pain.
Well, there are good parts to the ego, but there are things that having one makes you have to think about when that is important or when something else is important. I think we like to protect our ego. I think we like to make sure that no one assails it or assails our dignity. And so our ego is kind of in place to be our shield against that. But when you are talking with someone that you know is not a negative person, or you know that will not assail your dignity, then it's time to say, I'm taking a chance. I'm taking my ego, putting it on the shelf for the moment, and really, really listening. You can bring it back instantaneously, but pushing it aside literally requires you to say, I'm pushing it aside for the moment so that I can listen as well as I possibly can.
And that takes a lot of inner, definite self-respect and patience, because patience is such a virtue. You know, in your book you identify 8 major barriers to effective listening, and you've mentioned a few in our conversation today. Could you outline just a few more for us? Like, what are the few of these barriers, and where do these barriers actually come from? Again, is it from the ego? All barriers are from the ego?
No.
Okay.
The barriers, they may reside there because, again, sometimes that's the shield. I'd say the couple, 2 or 3 that I really want to make sure that your listeners get is one of them is judging, and it's judging people by age, by what they look like, by what they're wearing, and so they're judging what they're listening to, not because of the content of what is being said, but they're judging it by who is saying it. So you've got to be careful. There's bias, there's all kinds of things involved. So watch that mind chatter and see if anything's going on that would make you think, ooh, that barrier's in the way. The second one, which I think is critical, is the emotional barrier. And that one is, and I usually use this as an example, everyone has words that make them see red, that make them angry. For me, it was someone in 4th grade calling me ugly. So for years, when that word was being said, I would stop listening and rant in my head about the fact they shouldn't call people ugly, use plain, use simple, use homely, but not ugly. Ugly's on the inside, not on the outside. Well, am I listening to the person at that point? No. But everybody has these words. And what I suggest to people, especially in marriages where they're having an issue, is to write down the top 10 words or phrases that make them see red, the age they were at when it became a problem, and what was happening. And what happens is they find out what age, and that's the age we go to when that word is being used. And when the spouses switch the pieces of paper, there's such a set of light bulbs going off that they didn't understand that when they said this particular word, all of a sudden their spouse was no longer listening, and they didn't know why, and they didn't know why it hurt. So it really, really is helpful to all kinds of relationships.
Yeah,
and
I bet.
The last one is language. And language is the funny one because it's the teachers and trainers that don't do well on this because they assume they should know what a word or a metaphor means. And if they don't, they stop listening to figure it out in context instead of raising their hand and asking for clarification. And that's what I always suggest to folks. Take responsibility for your listening. So you raise your hand and say, could you clarify that? I didn't quite get it in the context. There are 2 things that happen. You become a hero in the room, and you find out what it means. And the speaker also understands, oh boy, when I use that word again, I think I'll explain it also so that everyone can learn. So you're helping the speaker as well as yourself.
Wow, fantastic. Love that. Love that. And they're so simple, but yet very, very important. Maybe before we close off our conversation, on your website, you're offering a listening assessment. Can you give us a sneak preview for those of us who want to get on?
Yeah, on listentosucceed.com. There is, you can get the book and you can get the assessment. The book is also available at Amazon. But the assessment is something that you can't get anywhere else, and it will actually tell you which barriers of the 8 barriers are the ones that you need to work most assiduously on. Those are the top 2 that would help you enhance your listening relatively quickly. And it comes back almost instantaneously with your results, and then you can use the book to actually look at how you can see when that barrier is coming up and what to do about it. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the air today. And can you please leave us with a website that we can get a hold of you?
Yes, indeed. It's listentosucceed.com, and it's all spelled out.
Beautiful. Any events coming up, Leslie?
At the moment, I don't have any, but I do have a media page that I update regularly so that folks can know what is happening when.
Beautiful. Leslie Shore, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to be reducing my ego as I learn how to listen better. Thank you so much.
My
Take care.
pleasure, Sister Jenna.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So it's true, I remembered in my 20s how I would listen so much with my own attached point of views. And when I started to listen to understand the need of the other person, I really started to know about me far more. And I would definitely say I succeeded at a much higher level. I think we've got Sister Gita in the studio, and she wants to read us something very special. So let's turn to her because we haven't had her in a long time. How are you? Welcome back to the air.
Good day to all of you. And although we're about 9 or 10 days old in the new year, happy new year to all of us. May the best be with us for the rest of our lives. Listening is receiving a message sent and understanding the meaning of the content as well as the intent. Sensing, interpreting, evaluating, responding. The word listen comes from two Anglo-Saxon words meaning to hear and to wait in suspense. To actively attend to the message of the sender, this requires high energy, genuine interest, and positive body language. Listen here. Listening is a gift you give yourself and others. And the question I am posing, and we can also ask ourselves, to how much do I listen to my body? How much do I listen to my thoughts? Let's do a little self-auditing. Do you talk more than you listen? Yes or no? Do slow speakers cause your mind to wander? Yes or no? Does nervousness or fear sometimes prevent you from concentrating on a speaker's message? Yes or no? When you are puzzled, annoyed, or confused, are you hesitant about asking questions? Yes or no? Do you judge or criticize while someone is speaking? Do you frequently find yourself thinking ahead about something you want to say, even though the other person is still speaking? When a problem comes to you, do you often react without gathering all the facts, perhaps by interrupting? Do distractions such as external noises or internal thoughts prevent you from listening carefully? Do you ever pretend you are really listening when you are really not? Are you very quick to give advice or offer a strong opinion? Do you believe that it is the speaker's responsibility to communicate effectively as opposed to the listener's responsibility? Do you often think that you have heard someone's name or an important fact only to discover that you have forgotten it? Do you think listening involves only the ears and hearing? Do you think only about yourself and ignore the other person's feelings when you talk? Think about this, please. Do you think you were born with the ability to listen? If you answered yes to any of these questions, your listening skills could be improved. If you answered yes to more than 5, you need to increase your ability to listen. And I know I need to increase my ability to listen to my body and to my thoughts more. Okay. Have a wonderful, attentive day to you and the people that we love. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, Sister Gita. That was beautiful as usual. Well, folks, what a great way to end today's conversation, really about the art of listening to succeed. So we've gotten lots of tools from Leslie Shore, who is our special guest, and our beautiful Sister Gita, who we haven't had on air for quite some while. So we were happy to actually find her in the studios so we could do what we do best here. Remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them permission, right? And we are here to love each other the same. It's 2017. It's time for us to amplify our own inner awareness and be as non-judgmental and humble as we possibly can if we're going to be able to overcome our own inner barriers and really live a life that's full and worthwhile. I am on right now a very focused trajectory of where I want my inner world to be. And I don't want anything or anyone around me to try to get in my way to get me off course. And no one's going to be able to do that unless I give that up, right? So remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them the permission. You're listening to America Meditating Radio. Thank you so much. Here is Love and Gratitude by Kristen Hoffman. Take care, everyone.
There's no